It's your boys, the Two Live Stews. Doug Stewart, absent today, but Ryan Stewart, I'm here. Happy to be joined by my man, Joe Ham, and this is The Joe Show. Very happy to spend some time with Mr. Joe Hamilton. There's a lot of stuff for us to get into, but before we do anything else, how you feeling today, Joe?
Hey, man, I'm doing outstanding, my brother. Outstanding. I don't call it hump day, especially the day I had today. I tell you, man, my daughter, man, she's going to be a good coach. She's going to be a good teacher down the road, and that doesn't necessarily mean sports. That means I went to her sewing class. My wife and I, had a Christmas party today, and I'm telling you, we sewed together a Christmas stocking. And when I tell you she was patient, telling mommy and dad, I'm talking about the old school grandma back in our days, sewing machine.
Like the sewing machine?
Yes,
oh
yes.
The
knitting, the threading, the needles, just like our grandma used to do, man, putting your foot on top of the pedal, so to speak, all that. She slow down, you're going too fast. She was so patient and was so gratifying that we were able to, her mom and I were able to be a part of that. And it just goes, man. Life is so great when you're able to spend it with your family, especially your kids, man. And shout out to Kaden. She brought joy to my heart today.
Especially this time of year, man, with the holidays. You know, Morgan is Lily, my daughter now. You just talked about your daughter, Kaden. My daughter was walking around this house singing. My daughter walking around this house humming. We had a chorus tonight where there was a show, and I had some video. I was smiling like a Chessy cat the entire time at that show while she was up on that stage singing. Okay, I mean, it's just something that the kids do. It's a very special time this time of year, man, and we ought to be grateful. We ought to show gratitude. We ought to give thanks over and over and over to the Most High because He is so good to us, man. These kids really, really make you feel special from time to time, man.
No doubt about it. I'm glad you said something about being grateful because these days, my brother, that's my superpower. My superpower is being grateful. I go down to the five senses. I go down to having shoes on my feet. I go down to bread and water. I mean, just the littlest thing, man. When I'm going through, I am grateful of everything. And that's what gets me through, man, when it's tough times. And we all have tough times.
We'll move into it, Joe. Before we get started, I'm going to say one thing based off what you just said. When I wake up in the morning, the first three things I do is say I'm thankful for whatever those three things are. So some mornings it's, man, Lord, thank you for blessing me to sit up in the bed. And then I go to the bathroom. Lord, thank you for blessing me to have lights. And then after I use the restroom, Lord, thank you for blessing me to have running water in this toilet. I just got to push that button, and whatever just came out of me disappears and goes away for me never to see it again. Lord, thank you for this water that's getting hot while I'm brushing my teeth. So after I brush my teeth, I can wash my. I mean, you're right. You got to make sure that you're always showing gratitude and thankful for the little things.
It's an attitude changer.
I agree.
Immediate attitude changer.
Yep. We got the Joe Show going down tonight, man. A beautiful Wednesday evening for you guys. Trying to put some programming up here for you to check out. Joe wants to do a recap. All right. We had a Monday show where we talked about the final 12 teams. And then on Tuesday, the final 12 teams was released. So the Stews will probably get into that in the morning because there's a Two Live Stews tomorrow morning, the Two Live Stews experience tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. But tonight, the Joe Show will be doing a recap of what took place last weekend and what took place prior to us coming on tonight. And Joe, I'm going to start by asking you this. Did they get it right? And when I say they, I'm talking about the college football playoff rankings, the updated 12-team bracket that has been revealed, college football's first 12-team playoff. The 12 teams are now decided. Of course, at 1, it's Oregon. Georgia's at 2. Boise's at 3. Arizona State's at 4. We could do a whole show on the one-seeded teams by themselves because you don't see a lot of the powerhouses that you typically see when it comes to the Final Four teams in that Final Four, except for Oregon. And, of course, Georgia's at their number 2. And then we'll go for 5 is Texas, 6 is Penn State, 7 is Notre Dame, 8 is Ohio State, 9 is Tennessee, 10 is Indiana, and, of course, number 11 is SMU. and at 12 is Clemson. Joe, did you recognize a team that typically would be in there that wasn't mentioned just now? Do you recognize that team?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what it's all about, Stu.
It is.
That's why I think, in my humble opinion, they did get it right. They got it absolutely right because, again, they looked at who made it to the conference finals, the conference championships. They looked at SMU playing a very, very good game. And I do believe that if SMU had ended the game like that 14-0 start that Clemson was up on them, maybe the committee had an easier decision. But they did not. And there going to always be some guys left out. Like some might say the South Carolina Gamecocks should have been in. Some might say, Alabama should have been in. But we have 12. And I'm going to tell you, Stu, I'm excited about the 12. I'm excited about the matchup that we're going to have a playoff game in Happy Valley.
Yeah,
we're going to have a playoff game in the Irish, touchdown Jesus, Notre Dame. So
in South Bend.
In South Bend. So that matchup on the home campus, that atmosphere for all those teams is going to be electric. You're going to have bragging rights when you say the ACC matching up against the SEC and Texas and Clemson. Then you're going to have again with the Penn State and SMU, ACC, SEC. They absolutely got it right. And what I love and what I would change, Stu, and this is Monday morning quarterback. This is hindsight. It's 2020.
It's easy on Monday morning.
It is very easy on Monday morning, but it's written. This is the first time. So if anybody says to you about the past and what they did and what they should have did, we've never seen this or we've never seen that, pat them on their backs, Stu. You know why? Yeah. Because it's never been. It's never been a 12-team playoff. That it's just unprecedented. This is year one, but going forward next year, I think they should immediately change the seedings. There is no way when you look at it, that Boise State is the number 4 team. Arizona State is the number 4 team in the nation, or number 4 team in this 12-team playoff, or even Arizona State. And they're much deserved, but I think you get those 12 teams, and once everybody's in the 12-team playoff, then you reseed them.
Reseed them. I agree.
Absolutely. You reseed those guys, and you reseed them how and what criteria changes, I don't know, but you definitely reseed them guys, in my opinion.
Boise went from not being and playing good ball for decades. Don't get it twisted. Playing good ball for decades, but they went from not being able to break into the final 4 teams to now having a number 1 seed and a freaking bye. Boise State has a bye where Alabama's not even in. Miami's not even in. I mean, several great teams, several storied franchises, several teams that have deep-rooted history in college football are not even on the outside looking in. They're just irrelevant altogether, and Boise has a bye. Talk about the chances that you're giving Boise to have success versus whoever wins that game in Penn State or SMU. Talk about what you think Boise might be able to do with those teams.
Well, I love Boise's chances, and here's why. Because you have a running back. You can take the air out of the football. You can play keep away on time of possession when need be. Now, I know they're going to load the blocks against Genty, the Heisman Trophy finalist. Yes, he's going to see, 8 in the box, maybe even 9 in the box. So they're going to come up with the game plan. But any given Saturday, and when you mention all those things you mentioned about some of the blue bloods not being in there, the traditional powerhouses not being in there, it's parity. It's parity at its finest. Man, my goodness, Indiana is the 10th seed. Indiana is in there. So when you look at where Indiana is at, and it went through the Big Ten, that's big and physical and strong. And yes, I know it's going to come down to the Jimmies and Joes, but only one quarter. Only one big turnover. Only one time where a guy can make a 56-yard kick like the Clemson kicker made in the waning seconds, clutch moments. So I wouldn't put it – is Boise a favorite in my eyes? No. But I do not want Boise to get on the big scene, which they have never been in, and they wanted it for so many years like you talked about. Hey, why are you leaving us out? We can play ball over here as well, right. And they're finally here. Show us you belong. Show us that we got it right. And even to add to that, Stu, look at Arizona State. Arizona State came from a conference that folded. Arizona came from the Pac-12 that doesn't even have a conference anymore. Went to the Big 12, and then they did what they have to do because why? The playing field's a little bit even now. You can get the big boys. You can get the defensive end. You can go out and get you a free agent. In college now, you can go out and get you a free agent, and wherever you're lacking on your roster, wherever you need a plug and play type guy, you want to build depth, you can go out free agency in college and get that done. Man, I am so excited about this, man. I am very, very excited about the matchups and the 12-team playoff.
It is the Joe Show. Your boy Ryan Stewart and Joe Hamilton, two former Yellow Jackets, spending some time together, talking a little bit of sports. It's what we do. We'll stay on the college playoff here for a quick second, Joe. Sir, do you give SMU at 11 playing Penn State? Do you give Indiana number 10 playing Notre Dame number 7? Do you give Arizona State? They play the winner between Clemson and Texas. Do you give those three teams? Wait, I'm sorry. Boise plays the winner between SMU and Penn State. Do you give any of those teams I just named, the teams that some people are saying shouldn't be there, Arizona State, Boise, SMU, in Indiana, do you give either of those 4 teams a chance to play past one game?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm not 99.9, not 95, 100%. 100%. I want you to look at the 12th seed. Who's the 12th seed? That's the Clemson Tigers. So what I'm going to do right now, Stu, for you, I'm going to throw seeds out of the window. Okay. I'm going to look at football teams. I'm going to look that you made it in. All you want to do is the cliche saying, get in the dance. Everything is even once you get in the dance. And the team that can consistently play all phases of the football game, special teams, defense, and offense, and get hot. Get a quarterback that gets hot at the right moment. It's going to come down to quarterback play. It's going to come down to quarterback play, who can protect the ball and who can make plays with their feet and their arm on 3rd and 8, 3rd and long, and it's going to be one play away. So, yes, I give those guys a deciding chance because, again, all you have to go through a schedule each Saturday as if we've had close games. Mm-hmm. The teams that has blowout and never been tested, never had to come and have a game-winning field goal or last-second or last-minute drives, those teams are not battle-tested. So you worry about those teams when lose, you go home type of a scenario. How will they respond as a team?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Joe, who do you like to walk away with this thing? I'm giving you one opportunity to pick one team, and we're going to be doing Joe shows and Stu's pop-ups and Two Live Stu's experiences for the next few weeks while the playoffs are being handled and taken care of. But right now, if you had to put your money on one team, which one team would that be out of these 12 to see to actually hold the trophy up when it's all said and done?
I can't believe I'm doing this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because
Joe, real quick.
I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do. No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Even if I felt that way, I would not do that.
Thank you. There's a protocol in this thing. Thank you.
No, not at all.
Okay.
But I don't want to say this team. I don't want to say this team because I don't have the trust in their coach, but the talent. They went out and paid $20 million to get transfer portal guys. They recruit at a high level. They have 5-star, 4-star throughout the roster. And that's the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio State Buckeyes, I think they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. And how that chip got on their shoulder is because of their doing. Ain't nobody would, sold them short. Ain't nobody took them for granted. They did this to themselves, losing at home, only scoring 10 points in a rivalry game against Michigan. But I just believe that Ryan Day, with all the, trash talk, the flag planted by Michigan, his job might be on the line. I think those guys are going to step up because the Jimmies and Joes are there, and I think it's going to be a ride all the way to the finish line, in my opinion, for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
I think you're crazy for saying that. Ohio State has done nothing to show me in the last decade that they will win in pressure situations. Do I think they'll be able to find a way to win versus Tennessee? I do not.
I don't know why you would want to go all the way back to the last decade. Sometimes that bothers me when we want to put a history on the current players. Now, what you're saying is factual, but that has nothing to do with Caleb Downs.
No,
and I totally get where you're coming from. And Ryan Day, he chokes in the big moments. He chokes in the big games.
He does.
But it's time that when your back is against the wall and it's do or die, I think he would coach now with his hair on fire. I'm not sure of all those other losses that he had his job on the line, but his job is truly on the line, especially if they go one and done. Especially if Tennessee goes in the big house, a SEC team, and upset the Buckeyes. Ryan Day is out of there.
Shouts out to Bay 11 Towing and Mr. Melvin Eccles. Melvin Eccles is right now in the – hey, beautiful. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. Mr. Eccles is right now in the chat. Spend some time here with the listeners. Yeah, he does a great job, man. For everybody that may have some towing needs, make sure you get those towing needs met by calling our guy Melvin Eccles at 44770-6949. Again, that's 44770-6949. You do think Ryan Day's job is on the line with this first game? You think he has to win this game to keep his job?
No doubt about it. 1,000%. 1,000%. And they can ante up the money to get him out there. Don't worry about your replacement or the replacement right now, but you have to have a change when the NIL and the what do you call, not the boosters, but the no, not the portal, the collectives. Those guys, the collectives, when they're putting all that money now into your program and you necessarily buying players, they expect you to win, and he's got to step up now, no doubt.
I think it's shameful when a coach wins 10 games every year and people are calling for his head at the end of the season because of a loss to Michigan or to a loss in a bowl game. I think it's shameful. I think when you got a coach like a Mark Richt, you got a coach like a Ryan Day that finds a way. What's the coach? Osborne, Joe Paterno. These guys for decades found ways to win 9, 10 games a year. Fell short at the end of the season every year, but they kept their jobs because you're getting 10 wins. Eventually you would think that a coach that's getting 10 wins every year is going to fall into a championship. and why would you want to shake him down? So for the people that say Ryan Day should be gone, I vehemently disagree.
I don't know why.
I understand why fans of Ohio State will say we can't have this coach that continues to lose to Michigan, our rival at the end of the season every year. But outside of that, those fans, man, please, y'all better be thankful for 10-win seasons. That means a lot to play 10-win seasons. That means you got an early bowl game at the beginning of the year. That means you're making a lot of money. That means your kids are traveling. That means you're winning division titles. Y'all better be careful what y'all ask for. Before we move on, you got a recap on anything dealing with this playoff system?
Again, I think I don't want to sound like I know it all about the playoff system, and I know more football than anybody else, but I will tell you this, Stu. I'm in tune to Saturdays, and I watch a lot of football, a lot of college football. And I would like for the committee, the 13-member committee, to get more football guys on that committee. When you looked up and down it, I would rather, just athletic directors, former athletic directors, former head coaches, former coaches, or even a position coach. Somebody's involved. They can sit down and watch the X's and O's of the game of football, seeing how momentum changes, and not just pick up the paper the next day and look at the stats and see who's doing well, and not look at the turnover battle, the time of possession, the strength of schedule. Actually sit down and dissect the football game is another thing that I would change. Just recapping the committee. They did a fantastic job. I know they're putting their hours in. It's somewhat voluntary for those guys to spend their weekend away for what, six weeks of the year. But again, I would just rather more football minds in there dissecting some of the intricacies of football that goes on each and every Saturday.
Something I love saying whenever we spend time on the Joe Show is that Joe Hamilton was a Heisman runner-up to Ron Dayne in 1999. That's the year, right, Joe?
Yes, sir.
1999, okay? At that Heisman Trophy ceremony, Joe, you, Ron Dayne, were y'all the only two that were there?
No, sir.
How many guys were there, Joe?
5.
Okay. Joe, do you remember all 5? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, yes, absolutely, man.
Okay.
I can run that off the top of my head. I can run that in a dream. I can run that, when I just wake up in the morning, because it's an experience you would just never forget.
Who were the 5, Joe? Who were your 5?
My 5 was Ron Dane. Ron Dane actually won it. Shout out to Ron Dane. He's a good friend of mine.
Boo! Boo! All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another good friend of mine, Michael Vick. Michael Vick was a finalist there. Chad Pennington, another quarterback, he was there. And also a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer in my books, Drew Brees. Drew Brees was also there. So it was star-studded. And I'll tell you what, man, just elation, nothing but elation. And here is why. When I got the call from Allison George, the SI Sports Information Director down at Georgia Tech, that I was going to be invited, Mom, Dad got a call right away. Smile cheesing from just ear to ear, because that's not a dream. There's not a dream for real players, man. Real players in the high school where I came from, the low country, South Carolina, where I came from, Alvin, we had specific dreams. Get to college, win a national championship, get to the pros, win a Super Bowl. These individual accolades, yes, we accepted them. We all got them, but we didn't shoot for any of those. We didn't shoot for any of them. But as that season went along and you got invited to the Heisman, and the Heisman pressure got a little bit more and more, you on Sports Center, and you kind of feel it a little bit that you're a stat watcher after the game. You kind of watching the other Heisman finalists, or the projected Heisman finalists, to see how they're doing. And your name is called to go to New York. Just no better feeling. And I would be remiss if I told you that at that point I didn't think I could win it. A little old boy from Alvin, South Carolina, going to win the Heisman. Yes, I thought I was in the running to win it. Right. I could win it. Right. I thought I'd put up the stats to win it. But at that point, you very quickly come to spilt milk, the hay's in the barn. There's nothing more you can do. There's nothing. There's no more games left. You go enjoy the moment.
And you just said it, man. You sitting by Mike Vick. You sitting by Drew Brees. You sitting by Ron Dane that just ran for 2,000 yards. There's no bigger names in football that year than those guys. And guess what? And you too. So before we go any further, let me do this. You mentioned Allison George, the sports information director at the time at Georgia Tech. Let's give her a shout out and a round of applause.
Yeah, shout out to you.
Let me tell you something, man. Allison George and the sports information department worked their butts off to get you what you got. You did the work. You did the work. You had to do the work. On the field, no interceptions, touchdowns, winning games. Hell, you went down to Athens that year, your final year, and won between the hedges, didn't you? Didn't you win that game?
That was junior year down there between the hedges. Okay, but the final year, my last game on the Bobby Dodd Stadium, and boy, that was the classic 51-48 in overtime. Stu, I really appreciate what you just did with Allison George and the SI department, because that was huge. I remember the day vividly when Coach O'Leary and Allison George was in his office, and Coach O'Leary called me in and he said, "Joe, we're going to go ahead and promote you for this Heisman. Allison George got some feedback, and the sports information, team got some feedback, and that's what we're going to do. You don't have to do anything but do what you've been doing, is play football." That's right. I said, "Thank you, Coach. That's it." Yeah. But they had mouse pads. They had CDs. Shout out to West Durham for voicing over the CD that was passed out. It was dished out. They promoted it. And I felt every bit of it. And while you're at it, shout out to the teammates. Shout out to all the teammates that helped you get there or helped me get there. But I'm telling you, Stu, and I love you and everybody that said boo to Ron Dane, that thought I should win it, thought I, got robbed. I'm very grateful for that. But it's not cliche, and I'm not just talking when I tell you that if you promise me 5 more times that you're invited to New York for the Heisman, you're not going to win. You can tell me before I go, you're not going to win, but you can get invited, or you will get invited. I am going. I'll tell you another story. All the past Heisman winners, only one wasn't there. And I forgot the name of him, but he was under the weather a little bit. So every past Heisman Trophy winner, Tony Dorsett,
it's a big deal.
Allen, Roger Staubach. I mean, Jim Plunkett, you name it. They were there, and we went out to Rockefeller. We went downtown New York. We rode the bus, just chopping it up with all-time greats was something you will never, ever, ever forget, man. And and that's what those guys are going through right now. And that's why I wanted to bring this up this weekend. They can't wait till they get down there on this Thursday, tomorrow.
Well, before you do that, I'm going to mention these names, but I'm going to say this real quick. I still call and or text Allison George once a year.
Yeah.
Once a year. I still reach out to her because just like she did for you, I wasn't a Heisman nominee, but I was on front of the media guide. I was talking in post-game press conferences behind the mic and behind the podium. You know, she was coaching me up on the side. Well, last time you said so. Be careful and stay away from stuff like that. And when you say so, that's, I mean, so I want to give a huge shout out to the people that's behind the scenes that rarely get mentioned. And Allison George and those guys, Moose, you know, those people down there at the SID department, they're doing an outstanding job. And that's why you got what you got because of what you were doing, but because of the work that they were putting in. This year's finalists, Dylan Gabriel, Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, and Cam Ward. Joe, are you pleased with the Final Four? Do you think they're missing a name? Let's start there. Are you pleased with the Final Four? Do you think they're missing a name?
They are missing a name in Shedeur Sanders. If you're looking at pure numbers, what you did for your football team, you're going to go tick for tack. You're going to completion percentage for all the quarterbacks and see who belongs. It's going to be Shedeur Sanders. I think he edged Cam Ward out by one with the most touchdown passes in the nation by quarterbacks. But here you go. When was the last time you had two teammates down up in New York for the Heisman? I mean, so and then what they do, Stuart, and for the listeners, they go by votes.
Joe, real quick, I'm sorry. I had been mad and or pissed off about Shedeur not being a Heisman finalist, but I have not looked at it from that point of view. Has there ever been two players on the same team at the Heisman ceremony? Has that ever happened before?
I think it happened maybe once or twice, but I can't be specific on that because there has been two dynamic teammates going up for it, but I don't think two have ever made it to New York. That's difficult to do. And just for education and food for thought, Stuart, is that they go by votes. Right. So that's how they invite people or invite athletes to the Heisman. That fourth most votes, fifth most votes, and then that's how you get there. So they went by all the voters. But again, Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback in the nation. The Heisman Trophy, sometimes your teammate takes away some of the votes from you and you don't get there, but I think he's the best. Dylan Gabriel, outstanding season. Cam Ward, outstanding season. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight right now. I want to take Travis Hunter, who I think will win the Heisman Trophy. He is the best player in college football, without the shadow of a doubt to me. But I give you a little bit of insight about individual awards and about those two quarterbacks, and Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward, and I'll throw Shedeur Sanders in it as well. Okay. I felt bad by not winning the Heisman. Yes, I did. And the Heisman is a overall best player in the nation type of trophy to win. But I felt better. And the trophy I hang my hat on is the Davy O'Brien trophy. The Davy O'Brien trophy is the trophy that goes to the best quarterback in the nation that year, just like the Doak Campbell goes to the running back, Biletnikoff goes to the wide receiver. Yes. Yep. So among Drew Brees, Michael Vick, Chad Pennington, I was the best quarterback that year. I did not win the Heisman. That went to Ron Dane, but the best quarterback. And I guarantee you, if Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, we know Shedeur Sanders does not have a chance to win the Heisman. But whoever wins that Davy O'Brien Award, that's a successful, I got it, I'm the best, or I was the best that season. They're going to remember that for the rest of their lives. So yes, maybe not the best in as overall, but the best at your position, that goes a long, long ways.
It does go a long way, man. And again, when you're sitting beside Mike Vick and Drew Brees and Chad Pennington, the year those guys had their final year of college, everybody up for the Heisman. I mean, you've got to be proud. You've got to be happy. But you're right. To be told that you were the best quarterback in college football in 1999 is beyond a blessing. Joe, I mentioned the 4 Heisman finalists: Dylan Gabriel, Oregon; Travis Hunter, Colorado; Ashton Jeanty, Boise; and Cam Ward, Miami. Who wins this thing and why in your eyes? I know we both thought Shedeur should be there, but who wins this thing out of the 4 that's going and why?
Well, I think Travis Hunter is going to win the trophy. And before I get into why, I want to say a little bit about Ashton Jeanty. And what I want to say about him, it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented that a guy, a running back of his stature and the stats that he put up this season, and he is not going to win the Heisman. Or my projection is that he's not going to win the Heisman. How you grew up, how I grew up, 2,000 yards, pretty much guaranteed you the Heisman. Now, there's been some that did not win it.
Didn't get it. Correct.
But, it pretty much guarantees you winning that Heisman. Yeah. However, he ran up into some bad luck. And his bad luck was Travis Hunter. Yeah. His bad luck was Travis Hunter. And when you go the number of plays, which it's unheard of.
We've never seen anything like it before in our life.
The machine that he is.
Yeah.
And I'm just not talking because I really like his work ethic. I really like that he has a lot of character. I really like that he's giving back to the community. I really love that he has a 4.0 and he takes pride, 4.0 GPA, and he takes pride in that. But also you add that he could be the best, or he may be, or questionably, the best wide receiver in the nation. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't even say questionably or might be. He is the best DB in the nation. So when you put those two things together, and if you wanted to and really wanted him to make another impact, I'm sure he can return punts. I'm sure he can return kickoffs as well. So he can do it all. And that's why I love this award. And if it does what it needs to do and what it says it's going to do in the criteria and give it to the best player, Travis Hunter is without a doubt the best player in the college football this season.
In the chat room, questions have been answered. Shouts out to my man Rel Scott, 1972 Heisman teammates, candidates, Johnny Rogers and Rich Glover, 1972. Appreciate that research, Rel. Appreciate you, fam. All right. And there's one more. ATL Ball 4-4, 2004. Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, USC. And Adrian Peterson and Jason White, Oklahoma. Thank you, ATL Ball 404. Appreciate that. That's good information. So, yeah, there have been guys or teams that have had 2 players go. So, shame on the Heisman Trophy. Shame on them.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
Yeah, shame on them.
When you made that comment a second ago, I'm like, that's it. That's why. There's been multiple instances where 2 teammates from the same college have been Heisman participants in this particular weekend that's coming up. So that blows my mind even more that Shedeur Sanders wasn't even invited. Joe, was he not invited because Deion is his daddy? Is that why he wasn't invited? Tell me why he wasn't invited, Joe.
No, yes, that has a lot to do with it. Because he did not have any lows throughout the season. It's not one game that he looked at and said he stunk it up or he didn't have numbers. It's got to be an underlining tone for Shedeur Sanders. And remember, those voters, they're human. Those voters see the watch. They see the bravado, the bravado. They see some.
He played a few games with a $500,000 necklace. I mean,
I mean, they're looking at that, and he's not the first to be able to do that. But yeah, that had something to do with it. And you know what I want to say about that 2004 Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush? What's so unique about those 2? They both eventually won the Heisman. That particular year, I don't know who won it that year where they both were there. But Matt Leinart, he has a Heisman trophy, and Reggie Bush. He has a Heisman trophy.
Reggie had it, and then they took it back, but now they've since given it back. So
rightfully so.
You're right, Joe. Very good points. It's your boys, man, Doug Stewart, Ryan Stewart. Doug is not here, but I am. It's the Joe Show. Spending some time with Joe Hamilton right now in the doghouse with your boys, the Two Live Stews. Thank you, chat room. We're going to try to read chat throughout the course of the night. We're not going to be here much longer, but we do appreciate y'all being here with us. Dude, it's not often you get to talk to somebody that's been to the Heisman. Before we move away from that, there was still a season going on while you, Mike Vick, Chad Pennington, Drew Brees, and Ron Dane were there. What does that Heisman trip do to your preparation for the guys that were trying to get to the NFL, for your preparation for guys that have bowl games to get ready for? Tell me about the activities. What were you doing? Were you guys working out in the mornings? Tell me about the experience and what that did. Did it hinder you from being the best you that you could be at that time, or was it all worth it at the end of the day?
Well, it was all worth it, Stu. I'm so happy we're bringing this up because this is real. I mean, this is real, and this is a realness that was experienced. It's draining. It's draining. It's very draining because when you mention the Heisman Trophy, it's just not the Heisman Trophy. It's the awards circuit. It's the college. It's the Home Depot College Awards down there in Orlando. It's the Doak Campbell Award for the running backs down in Texas. It's the Davey O'Brien Award over in Texas that you got to be a part of, or you want to be a part of those ceremonies. And they're back-to-back weekends. Sometimes they're on a Tuesday during the week. And then you also have to prepare. You also have to eat right and get in the weight room down at the hotel. What are you going to put first? What are you going to prioritize? And you want to easily say that it's going to be my teammates. It's going to be the chance or the opportunity to win a bowl game. Yes, but when you have breakfast, a big breakfast that's plated for you, buffet style, you have lunch wherever you want to go, buffet style, and dinner the same way. You have people tugging for interviews back and forth. It's humongous. And that's just not one weekend. It's the weekends leading up to your bowl game, let alone you might have a finals or two with school that you have to concentrate and study for as well. And here's the deal. And what's so important about this, and I'll be watching very, very carefully, Dylan Gabriel and Ashton Genty. And I still would watch again.
We got big games.
Yes.
You got big games.
Humongous games with a lot of pressure, and let alone when they can do their own thing and if they're professionals or they are character guys that they're going to do the little things. They're going to be in the weight room. They're going to do the small things as far as reading their playbooks. What about practice time, Stu? What about times away from your team where you got one-on-ones running routes with your wide receivers? What about the film talk and the film study with your quarterback's coach or offensive coordinator?
You weren't already married, were you, when you were at
Heisman? Absolutely not. No, brother.
Not. Okay. Were you
but Kenya made the trip. Shout out to Kenya. My wife made the trip.
I was about to ask you, did your girlfriend, fiance, or if it was your wife at the time, did she make the trip also?
Yeah, she made the trip. One hell of a trip. She made the trip. My mom, my dad, and also one of my best friend, Taurus Nixon, made the trip because he could not be there. And this was before everybody had to come out of their pocket then. This is not the NIL that somebody's going to pay. So everybody had to come out their pockets. But it was just a huge deal, and you wanted to be a part of everything. Yes, hindsight, you want to be able to mail my trophy. Or I'll read a script on the prompter, and I'll write some down, and y'all read that out at the ceremony. But once in a lifetime type deal. And I want to say, Stuart, I've never said this, but it's time to be very transparent. I wasn't my best self Gator Bowl in 2000, the 2000 Gator Bowl against the Miami Hurricanes that season. I wasn't my best. I played my heart out.
You're not blaming it on the Heisman trip, are you?
No. I'm not blaming it on the Heisman trip. Okay. I'm blaming it on not being as focused that I've always been doing games. I could have been more focused. On some of those trips, I could have had my playbook. On some of those trips, I could have talked more with Ralph Friedgen about the game plan. Some of those practices I missed because I've been away, I could have been more in tune. Looking back at it, and if I ever in a chance or in a position to mentor somebody in a position of doing that further down the road, that's what I would be. If I was a mentor or somebody that can give some words of advice to Genty or Dylan Gabriel, and even Cam Ward and Shador Sanders, because Shador's going to be up for some awards as well.
No question.
Shador's not going to be to the Heisman, but he's going to be up for some awards. So
I think he won the best. I think he won the best quarterback already, didn't he?
He didn't win the David O'Brien. He won the Johnny Unitas.
Unitas.
Yes, he won the Johnny Unitas of one of those awards. So he's going to be up for it as well. So just make sure you take time in your playbook and you remember your football game, because that's very, very important. All of it is important. You might not have time for everything, but just remember, man, lifting weights and being with your teammates is what got you there.
Shouts out to my man, the Jeff Fox Show live. He's in the chat room spending some time with the dogs and poodles that's watching the Joe Show right now. Yo, the legend Joe Hamilton, stupendous indeed. Jeff, holla at your boy, man. I'm sure Joe will love to spend some time on your show down there in Miami, man. It's your boys, the Two Live Stews. Doug is out. Ryan is in. Spending some time with Joe Hamilton for the Joe Show, recapping some Heisman situations. Before we move on from the Heisman, which we're about to do, game planning for bowl games. You just mentioned that somewhat. Major distraction. I mean, it has no choice but to be a distraction. You're not with your team. How many days are you in New York? How many days were you away from your team while you were there, Joe?
I was there away from the team Thursday all the way to Monday, because no practice was on Sunday, and you flew out Sunday morning from New York. So from Thursday to Sunday, got back Sunday evening, Sunday night, and then practiced the next day, and getting back in the film room the next day, getting back in the routine the next day. And again, you think you can just pick it up like riding a bike, but it's just not like riding a bike, because again, you weren't doing those football activities while you were up in New York. You weren't doing those football activities down there in Orlando at the Home Depot Awards show. You were you were kicking it. I was kicking it with a Peter Warwick, a Plexico Burris, a Ron Dane, those guys that, you looked up to and you saw having good seasons, and you wanted to chop it up with Chris Winkie. You wanted to pick those brains about how you do some different type things. So it's not a negative, but it's something you have to, call and get some information about what you're about to experience, because none of these guys are repeat Heisman Trophy candidates, and it's going to be a different experience without the shadow of a doubt. And I also want to tell you about the game planning on the players' perspective, of the players' side. This NIL, Ryan Stewart, this NIL, it has coaches now in a pickle. It has coaches in a big-time pickle. And why would I say that? I would say that because how are you going to game plan the way you want to game plan, and you don't know who you have to butter up? I'll call it butter up. Now in the days of college football leading up to the bowl games, you're going to have to butter a wide receiver up. Say, for instance, a wide receiver, knock, coach, I don't know where I stand next year. I don't know where I stand on this team. I know I have 2 years of eligibility left. How do you see me? How do you see my future in this program? Do you see me taking over the #1 spot next year? Do you see me getting more targets than just 6 that I got this year? Will my targets go up? And the coaches said, hey, you're going to compete for more targets. You have a chance now to show me in the bowl game practices, in those 15 practices you got in the bowl games. Show me that, and we'll show me in your last game what you can do. So now what a coach is going to do, the offensive coordinator or maybe the defensive coordinator with the DB, they're going to formulate a game plan around that guy to feature that guy.
Because he's about to leave. They want him to stay.
They want him to stay. So now, and that doesn't guarantee he stays. That does not guarantee he stays just because of that. And just for, information, this past Monday, the transfer portal opened up that you can put your name in the transfer portal and tell coaches I'm out of there, I'm leaving, or I'm thinking about leaving. And then December 29th is when the transfer window closes, that, you cannot no longer put your name in there until after spring ball in April, and the window opens up again. So, and can you or will you do it the right way? And here's the right way, Stu. You knock on that coach door, you tell him, are you disgruntled or are you cool? And you ask him your role. And if you don't go in there like a jerk, if you don't go in there, demanding and cursing and having an attitude, maybe that coach will let you test the waters. I don't know how you feel about that if you are coaching somebody. Test the waters. I want to get in the transfer portal. I want to see what's out there. And I'm not disgruntled, but I want to just see if there are better opportunities. Maybe that coach will do you like Coach Kirby Smart did Xavier Truce. Xavier Truce was in the transfer portal years ago. He actually took a visit to Florida. Didn't like what he saw. didn't like any of those things. He came back and was it was a part of the Georgia Bulldogs team. So it's about how you go about things. Another example I read today that Deion Sanders, he gave out a tweet to all the other coaches that, hey, I have a slot receiver here that he's going to go be in the portal, and it's just a numbers game, but he wants to stay on the West Coast. I'll vouch for him if you call me up, and I'll have my recruiting guy also vouch for him. That is the way you do it. That is, you just don't up and leave with no communication and badmouth the program, badmouth your teammates. That's not the way you do it. So with the money deal going on and, free agency going on in college that you want to make more money, I get it. But there's a way you go about doing it. So the coaches are going to have to acquiesce to different players. Everybody's not going to be treated the same. But you best believe that's another part of recruiting that these players or these coaches are going to have to recruit their own team.
I talked to a frat brother that's the head coach in college football right now. I'm not going to say his name of the program that he's coaching. But we talked today for about an hour. And he told me that yesterday, within a 2-hour time period, 400 names popped into the portal.
My goodness.
400 names within 2 hours. And he said, what are we supposed to do with this, Stu? So when he said that, I said, well, Coach, I'm not sure what your situation is with your players, but I also read a couple of days ago, and I think it's Marshall, I could be wrong, but a couple of days ago, I think it's Marshall. They said everybody on the roster at Marshall put their names in the portal. The entire freaking team. It's a different day and time. And honestly, the NFL is different from college because in the NFL, you got contracts and these guys are coming and they're going to be locked down. But now in college, they're giving these kids 1-year deals.
Yes.
Doug and I are going to talk about it tomorrow, but the big number one recruit in the country in basketball plays in Utah. Okay, he just signed with BYU. Black kid, signed with BYU. Number one player in college, in high school basketball. He got $7 million to sign for 1 year. It's 1 year. Yeah. So I looked at that number when a buddy told me there was $7 million. I said, there's no way it's $7 million. So I went to the number. Okay, and it sounds like that really is going to be the number. I pulled up last year's NBA draft, and I checked the teams. The kid that just signed for $7 million to go to Utah is making more money than everybody except the top 6 picks in last year's NBA draft. Straight out of high school.
Reality. Reality. And that's what it is. And Stu, just to give some more, clarification on the Marshall deal, you're absolutely correct.
Is it Marshall?
Yes, absolutely. And the reason why those kids did that is because
coach left. The coach left.
Yes. Unwarranted. They won the conference. He was successful. They did not understand it. Now, again, they're going to have to go through another process of getting re-recruited by the next head coach that comes through there. But I love the empowerment back on the players. Yeah. I love the fact that the players have some rights now because I guess, one thing, billboards are getting put up. Coaches' salaries are going through the roof. And, oh, by the way, parking tickets or parking lots and parking spaces, they're getting charged a lot for that. Concession stands, put some more money in the pockets of those student athletes.
More than 1,000 names in the portal right now, sir. More than 1,000 names.
And you know what's sad, Stu? And it's very sad, is that more than 1,000 would remain in the portal.
Oh, gosh, that hurts.
Yes. So you have to have a plan. You have to have somebody, and I know it's sometimes illegal and you're tampering with somebody else, but have some of your go-to people. Have some people that can talk behind the scenes to see your worth. You don't want to leave a top 5. You don't want to leave a Power 5 program that you have board and tuition and you paid for your college, and then all of a sudden be out of a college. You don't want to go that route. So do your homework before you get in that transfer portal.
It's your boys, the Two Lost Twos. Doug is out, but Ryan is in. And don't forget that tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, there will be a 2 Live Stews experience. We'll talk about a few of these things that we mentioned tonight, but it'll be a different show. No stress, no worries. This is the Joe Show. Before we move any further, man, we'll step out of the Heisman talk here real quick, and we'll get into a little bit of NFL talk. Joe, in my mind, it's been the best college football season that I've ever seen. In my mind, it's been one of the best NFL seasons that I've ever seen as well. I'm trying not to wax poetic and be a prisoner of the moment, but every week we've seen top teams getting beat. Every week we've seen bottom teams finding ways to win. Every week we've seen games that's coming down to the last minute and the last possession. Do you have any sleeper teams right now, Joe? Because everybody's already starting to formulate what the playoffs are going to look like. Everybody's already saying this person's going to do this, that team's going to do that. Who's a sleeper team or two that you may have as we get closer to the NFL playoffs getting started here in the next month or so?
Who would you call the best team in the AFC?
Best team in the AFC. I got to say Detroit in the NFC. AFC, Buffalo.
Okay, I like it. I
didn't know where we were going, so I didn't prep for that. Okay.
Well, you watch games. You watch games.
I watch games. I watch games. You know what? I'm gonna take that back. I watch games. Okay.
Yes.
And I hate Josh Allen, but he's balling, and I think he's an MVP candidate. So that's why I said Buffalo. But I'm going to stick with the tried and true. Kansas City's still the best team until somebody's beat them. They won the last 2 Super Bowls. They've only lost 1 game so far this year. They're finding ways to win. They're not the Kansas City of old, but in my eyes, they're still the AFC's best, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and I like where you're going with that, and I agree with that. But I'm talking about sleeper teams here, teams, one from the NFC, one from the AFC, to watch out for a little bit. Keep your eyes on. And I kind of know why you, and rightfully so, Detroit, you're a longtime Detroit fan, rightfully so, and they're proving your worth now. You're not a bandwagoner. You're not any of those things. They are a really good team.
Ain't got nothing to do with my fandom of the Lions or the Lions still paying bills around this house. Ain't got nothing to do with that.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, go,
no, but you love the position they are in right now.
I do. I certainly do.
Yes. So the team I'm going to watch out for in the NFC is the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams is a sleeper team for me right now, and here's why. That wide receiver core is healthy. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, they run routes. They have a rapport with Matthew Stafford like none other. And then they're in a division, the NFC West, that's takeable. They might be able to host a wild card or a first round, playoff game if they come down to the wire and still continue to win the game. They always seem to peak this late in the season. That's one of my sleeper team. That defense is coming along. Jared Verse as a number 1 or a first round draft pick. He's coming to his own. Some would say the Falcons should have, kicked the tires on that guy and drafting a pass rusher instead of Michael Penix Jr. That's a topic for another time, but I love it. And when you look at the NFC, you have a Super Bowl winning coach in Sean McVay. All right, and you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Matthew Stafford. No quarterback in the NFC has won a Super Bowl. You have 2 that's been there. In Brock Purdy and then Jared Goff. Yes, they've been there, but Matthew Stafford is the only quarterback now that's won a Super Bowl in the NFC. I think those guys are going to make some noise in the playoffs when they get there if they can hold their business down. Over in the AFC, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. When I look at it, it's some of the same type of pedigree. And not to say not any other team has a quarterback that's won the Super Bowl, because we know about Pat Mahomes. We definitely know about that. But what about Russell Wilson? Yeah, I know it was a long time ago. Yeah, I know that, he had that struggle. He was on a struggle bus in Denver, and a lot of people wrote him off as corny. But the guy can play football. The guy can play football with a coach to ask you to hand the ball off, make a few plays, throw that moon ball and give your wide receiver a chance, and then he'll come down with it with George Pickens. You have a Super Bowl winning coach in Mike Tomlin that gets the best out of his players each and every year. We know that. 18 years in running, never had a losing season. We all know that. And again, that defense. That defense travels. What travels? I don't care if I have to go to Buffalo in snow. I don't care if I have to go to Kansas City in inclement weather. That defense will travel with one of the best players in the entire National Football League, and TJ Watt. You have guys, Micah Fitzpatrick in that secondary. You have guys. So those are my teams. Now, Stu, I want to clarify here now. Okay. I'm not saying those are the teams that's going to win the Super Bowl. I think
no. You said sleeper.
Right now. Yes, those are my two sleeper teams that I want you to keep an eye on.
All right, big game this weekend in the National Football League. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles to play a game this weekend. It'll be a bloodbath out there for sure. Who you like in that game and why?
I like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Let me cut you off real quick. Damn it! I wish I would have caught you before you said that. I got a crazy stat before we go any further. The Steelers, the Steelers have not won in Philadelphia since 1965. Joe, I'm a handicapper.
That's a crazy stat.
I handicap. I make wagers on games. Now I'm not putting no more than $50 on the game. Okay, so it's not a big number, but I wager. And when I'm doing my homework and doing my research and finding stats like that, Steelers hadn't won in Philadelphia since 1965. It makes me want to put my entire family's savings on the game.
Oh, yeah. That's not only a crazy stat.
Long time.
That's not only a crazy stat. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. Hey, you're crazy going back to 65. And Stu, I like that.
65.
Nah, that doesn't have any relevancy here at all. It doesn't. Do you believe in locker room tension?
I do.
Do you think it can divide a team that's very, very successful in rolling? Is there such a thing that we're winning, so there's no problem in-house?
Well, they're dealing with that in Philly right now.
Yes, they're dealing with that.
They're winning. They're on a heater. They've won like 8, 9, maybe even 10 games back-to-back. I'm not sure. It may be close to the 9. But A.J. Brown, their star receiver, he big mad. He pissed. He's upset.
Can I tell you something that burns?
He's upset, and they've won 9 straight.
Can I tell you something that burns my bacon?
Please.
Prima donna wide receivers. Prima donna wide receivers. And this is not just because I'm a quarterback, because I think myself as a quarterback that's a foxhole quarterback. A dirty, get my hands dirty type quarterback. It's not me when we win. It's not you when we lose. We all in this thing together. I get that. But we win. For him to go out, and I'm not saying what Brandon Graham, he probably reached out a little bit and said more than he needed to say. But goodness, man, in the presser right after the game, in a solemn mood, in a bad mood, we got to work on passing. We got to work on passing. And that is why the sole reason I'm gonna pick Pittsburgh. Not the sole reason, because I think Pittsburgh's defense, I think their game planning, I think they're going to be able to shut down Saquon Barkley in the running game, and that's going to force Jalen Hurts to be a pocket passer. 3rd and 11, 3rd and 10. He's going to have to make some big plays in the pocket. I know how he does it with his legs. He can make plays with his legs as well, but they're going to force you to make plays within the pocket with your arm. So I'm going to pick the Steelers. And how laughable this question may sound to you, what's the Philadelphia Eagles, what's their identity offensively?
They ground and pound that thing with Saquon.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
And Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown do not like that. Nope. They do not. So will Nick Sirianni, the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, try to accommodate the wide receivers? Will the offensive coordinator Kellen Moore try to get those guys happy in the dirty dozen? or the first 15 scripted plays? Because wide receivers look at that, Stu. Wide receivers, I played with Keyshawn Johnson. I played with Marvin Harrison. I played with some of those guys, and they look at it. They look at it on Wednesday. They look at it on Friday. They look at it on Saturday before the game on a Saturday night at the hotel when, you're addressing the team. How many targets do I have in those first 15 scripted? What formations are you, putting on the game plan that's going to get me early touches?
What you doing for me? What you doing for me?
There you go. So it's going to be a game, and also along those lines, I think the Detroit Lions play the Buffalo Bills. Okay. So I'm telling you, the NFL keeps on giving, man. It's an exciting deal, but I just love watching. But I don't like grown men when they're winning and they're doing very, very well to be disgruntled. I'm not cut from that type of cloth.
You won't hear me say too many negative things about former teammates that I've played ball with. I mean, from time to time I may drop something. And if it's bad about somebody, I won't say their name. But I try not to say bad things about former teammates because, blood, sweat, and tears. We was in them holes together,
right.
I've never been in a street fight with a teammate that did not jump back in said fight. Okay? So I respect those guys. But one teammate that I don't respect is my former teammate in Detroit, who's a wide receiver. His name is Herman Moore. Okay? I am not a fan of Herman Moore because Herman was the ultimate diva of all divas when it comes to not just the receivers, but a teammate.
Oh,
so when I see an AJ Brown acting like he did this past weekend after a victory, it reminds me of Herman Moore. A guy that tries to find ways not to get on the field, a guy that's not really able to practice all week, but Friday when it's time to do a walkthrough, or Saturday morning when it's time to do a walkthrough, he'll put that red jersey away and he'll ultimately be healed. He'll give all the glory to God for being healed, but he'll ball out, catch 7 catches, 115 yards on Sunday, and then on Monday, he come in there limping again, putting on a red jersey.
No.
I mean, so I don't talk bad about any of my former teammates except for that guy because I just wasn't a fan of that guy. He was pompous as all get out.
Yeah.
And I see the same type of efforts and attitude coming from A.J. Brown, a team that struggled down the pipe last year. This year, they're finding ways to win on a 9-game heater, and you upset because of a lack of targets or a lack of catches. Shame on you, A.J. Brown.
And I doubled down. I doubled down on the shame on him. And here's why I tripled down. Because he's not in a contract year. He has his money.
He got his money. He got his money.
He's got it. I mean, he's paid top 5 money, top 3 money in the NFL. So
that's right.
Now it's about just winning. Nobody's taking your money away. Nobody's hindering you from you taking food off my table.
Right.
I mean, and I know how it's a trickle-down effect. If you're mad in the game, you're not going to do the little things. You're not going to go and dig out that safety. You're not going to go to the echo of the whistle. You're not going to block down the field. You're not going to jog across the field and cut off that deep safety like you're supposed to do, how it's drawn in the playbook. You're not going to do those little things because you want to prove a point. You got the sad child face with your mouth frowned up. You acting like a child face. Yeah, I mean, come on. So, yeah, I mean, and again, I really, really despise that. My favorite wide receiver of all time is Larry Fitzgerald. And he went about his business just one way. He played with 11 different quarterbacks. Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles in his NFL career than he does drops.
Wow.
Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles in his NFL career than he has drops.
That's a beautiful stat.
He's been tackling he's been tackling interceptions. I mean, tackling ball interceptors from bad quarterbacks his entire life, not disgruntled, never went or never said I wanted to go to another team, stood there in Arizona his entire career and fought through it, never said a murmuring word. He's a great guy and a great ambassador for the wide receiver fraternity. And our boy Calvin Johnson was the same way.
Right. You better believe it, man. Shouts out to Calvin. Rel Scott said, be careful, Ryan. With those ears, Herman Moore can hear you all the way in Detroit. Hey, look, man. Like I mentioned to Doug a while back, but we were in person. We weren't doing the show. But Doug said, man, you always saying something negative about Herman. What you going to do if Herman walk up to you in these streets? I said, I'm going to take his knee out. I'm going to sweep that left leg.
Oh, man. But I'm telling you, I mean, you're saying that, and the guy you are, the football guy, that who you respect, how you respect football, that's not the first time Herman Moore has heard some things like that. No. Even if he's not hearing that from you,
right?
Somebody's told that to him in his face. Probably some family members.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Joe Hamilton, the Joe Show. It's been outstanding, Joe. Before we get out of here, I want to give you a chance to give some words of encouragement, something that we're going to try to do every time we do a Joe Show. Hadn't really decided what we're going to call it yet. Maybe Coach's Corner or Coach 'em Up, or we hadn't decided yet. But for right now, let's just call it words of encouragement, Joe. Drop those words of encouragement before we get out of here.
Yeah, I wanted this opportunity just to make sure that everybody, including myself, used to, everybody under the sound of my breath, don't compare yourselves among each other. The good book in 2 Corinthians say, don't compare yourselves among yourselves, because you'll never know where your direction leads you. You're looking at somebody else, and maybe they're on the top of the mountain, maybe they're succeeding, but you don't know their grind. That maybe is not for you. You don't want to be thinking that guy is stealing your glory. That guy is where you want to be, and your work is not done yet. Maybe you're going down that path, and you get so frustrated trying to be with somebody that's been doing something 12, 15 years, and it looks easy to them right now, but they grind. So if you're trying to compare yourself with somebody like that, it's going to get you frustrated. You're not going to be able to count your steps that you're making on your path, because you're going to get frustrated. You're going to say, why am I not there yet? Look at that guy over there. He makes it look easy. Well, he makes it look easy because you don't know what he's done behind the scenes. You don't know what he's done to get there. So if you're comparing yourself to somebody that's, been in the game a long time, or been a doctor, or whatever profession they've been in a long time, get some words of wisdom. Don't be afraid to crawl. Don't be afraid to do the little things for a long time, and just compare yourself to yourself, making sure you're giving yourself a pat on the back and taking step by steps and not cutting corners, because cutting corners is only going to, hinder your growth. It'll hinder your growth, and what'll speed up you thinking that you can get there fast is you're trying to compare somebody that's been doing it for a long time. Don't compare yourselves among yourselves. Just stay on the grind, man, and make sure you congratulate yourself about the short increment steps you're taking to your successful journey.
Words of encouragement from our Hall of Famer. That's right, Mr. Joe Hamilton. Spend some time right now with your boys, the Two Live Stews. Doug Stewart, Ryan Stewart. Doug didn't make it today, but your boy One Live Stew was here. Spend some time with Joe on the Joe Show. We appreciate those words of encouragement, and I concur, I second, I co-sign, whatever it is I need to do, I vouch. But yeah, you are 100% right all the way. I'm going to read a couple of chat before we get out of here, man. One we got earlier from Fantasy Football GOAT Strategies. Joe, during your lifetime, who was your top Heisman winner of all times? Appreciate your Fantasy Football GOAT Strategies. What you got, Joe? Who you think?
Reggie Bush.
Okay.
The best college football player I've ever seen.
That's tough.
He checks all the boxes, man. Sports Center worthy, champion, speed, showmanship, electric. Yeah.
All of it.
Yep.
All of it. All right. Second one. Loose neck IPP, Cy. Appreciate that, IPP. Randy Moss' son may disagree right now. And what he's talking about is you gave props to Larry Fitzgerald for having more tackles than he has drops. But Larry Fitzgerald's in the news right now because Randy Moss has removed himself from ESPN because allegedly, I don't know how true it is, he's dealing with liver cancer. And earlier today, Larry Fitzgerald put out a tweet, something on X, something on Facebook, basically sending Moss some words of encouragement. And Moss's son jumped on there like, you don't get down with my dad like that. You shouldn't be talking about his situation like that. How you know he wanted people to know that? Okay.
Yep.
So that's why Loose Neck IPP was saying that Randy Moss's son may disagree with your thoughts about one Mr. Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I thought the same thing when I read those comments by Larry Fitzgerald.
But I know Larry. I know Larry personally too, and he's not that dude. He wasn't trying to high side on the Moss family at all.
Nah, and he didn't want to be the first to report anything. He wasn't all about that. He genuinely wanted prayers to be shot up for Randy Moss for him to get better soon.
I will ask everybody that's under the sound of my voice as well to say a prayer for the Hall of Famer Randy Moss. One last message, Joe. We'll end on this one. The great Arlie Michelle spent some time in the chat with the dog and poodles today, and her message said, "We all need some encouragement." Joe, I think I'm going to like that one. I really think I'm going to like that one.
Oh, man, come on, man. Come on, man. Hey, listen, we all need some encouragement, and we all need others. Others, man. Yes. We have to lean on others, man. We're not in this fight alone, brother.
One football question before we let you go on this. What's this? Wednesday edition of the Joe Show. If you were Raheem Morris, Atlanta Falcons head coach, Falcons are on a slide right now. I think they've lost 4 in a row. Do you go to Michael Penix Jr. or do you stay with Kirk Cousins?
I got a minute, Stu.
You got as much time as you need, sir.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I go with Michael Penix Jr., and here is the reason why. 2 reasons. Number one is the fact that Kirk Cousins is not seeing the football field. He's not reading coverages well. He's forcing the ball into double coverage. He's forcing the ball into squat corners. When he sees a blitz, he's popping the ball up like a punt to a safety overthrowing Kyle Pitts.
Terrible throw.
I mean, it's like he's seeing ghost. So if you have your veteran doing that, that is the advantage you would have on playing a rookie, right? The game slows down to him a little bit. He's able to diagnose and dissect coverages, pre-snap and post-snap. That's the advantage you get with you thought playing Kirk Cousins. No touchdowns in 4 games. That's putrid. And there's one thing about you could point the finger of not making plays by the wide receivers or short on their routes and drops.
It's not them.
It's on Kirk Cousins. Not them. It's on Kirk Cousins. He's one of those standing trees. And my second reason, Stu, is this. And I know your team is the Raiders, so it's no low blow to you. They're playing a 2-win Raiders team this week. So take that in account as a head coach. Now, you're not playing a big boy opponent to where you're going to get Michael Penix killed.
It's the perfect week to play your young boy.
There you go. It's the perfect week to play him now in a defense. Yeah, you got Max Crosby in that defense off the edge, but he can get his feet wet against a team you should beat, and that's going to finish this season. Because I'm afraid, man, that the Atlanta Falcons are going to have to eat that money they paid Kirk Cousins next year. Because he's not that guy. He's not healthy. His arm is like a noodle now, and that's why he's anticipating throws as far as wait for guys to kind of know what's going on. It's not a good look right now, and I don't talk negatively about quarterback. I try to stay away from that as much as possible, but he's not playing good football at all.
Yeah, he sucks. He can't move the pocket. He's throwing ducks. He's missing receivers. He's bouncing balls.
Man,
it's just really all bad. I mean, and I understood what the Falcons were thinking when they signed him. I didn't like to sign him because he's 40 years old and he tore that Achilles. I thought that would hinder him and stop his progress, stop his mobility, which I was right. But I understood what they were doing, and I understood why they were doing it because he's been a proven veteran that finds ways to win games, but
not a big game. Not a big game.
Well, not a big game. Well, big enough games for him to make over $300 million, which means he's won some games someplace to make that kind of money. Wow. And he's won games there too. We're not going to get into the tit for tat.
No.
Doug and I do it every damn day because he hates Kirk Cousins, but he's been a proven winner.
If he's such a proven winner, Stuart, why would the Minnesota Vikings fan base boo him? Wouldn't they celebrate him? Wouldn't they have something on the big board as far as, yes, thank you for your services. It was a good time here, Kirk. You are our guy. They couldn't wait to run him out of there. Why would that happen, Mr. Stewart?
Well, he was the opposing quarterback, Joe.
Oh, no. You can't get away with that.
He was the opposing quarterback.
No.
In a game that his team needed. His team's playing better ball right now. They're not going to come in there and give him props the way Sam Darnold's playing right now. Sam Darnold out there balling. They ain't got no love for Kirk.
We've seen it happen. Man. We've seen it happen. Just a little 10 seconds right before the game. Give him a tribute. Everybody cheer. That's what you normally do. They didn't have it in their heart. They are looking at it like Doug is looking at it. They're looking at it like I'm looking at it. What did you do for us here in Minnesota?
Right. Well, we're at the end of it, man, so we're not going to be able to stay on this. But
oh, man.
Is he a winning quarterback is the question I have for you. That's
yes.
Just one. Okay, then that's all I've ever said. He's a winning quarterback.
Yes.
That's all I've ever said. And in Doug's eyes, because he ain't got no Super Bowl or because he hadn't won NFC or AFC championships, he's doo-doo. He's not doo-doo.
No, he's not doo-doo.
His body of work says he's put up 4,000-yard seasons, 4,500-yard seasons multiple times.
Yes.
He's warranted for the money he's made. All I've ever said is prior to this season, and again, it's because of the injuries and the Achilles, he's been a good quarterback. He has.
Yes.
And winning, especially Super Bowls, is a team metric.
Yes.
Not a quarterback metric. It's a team metric.
I agree with you, Stuart. This season surprised me from Kirk Cousins. Now he's not my all. Yes, everything you said, I co-sign, brother. Yes.
Bad.
Yes.
I got to give a shout out to A+ to everybody in the chat room, man. Thank y'all for rocking with us. We appreciate it. Thank y'all very much. Joe, A+ for you. The Great Naughty Dread, thank you for setting this up. Street Taylor, thank you for being a part of it. And Joe, you get an A+. The Joe Show, you get an A+. Outstanding job. I was telling a buddy before the show when I was driving home after Morgan's chorus recital. I said, yeah, me and Joe about to do the Joe Show. He goes, oh, okay, I'm going to be listening. Hey, man, you going to talk any Heisman? I said, oh, yeah, we're going to talk Heisman. As a matter of fact, what a blessing to have a former Heisman runner-up on the network to talk Heisman. He should be able to give us some insight that others can't. And you did that tonight. Thank you.
Man, it's real. It's real in the field, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you a lot, brother.
We'll do it again real soon. Wednesday may be our days, but bear with us until we figure that out. A few moving parts. A lot of things need to be done. We got to get on the same page. But Stewart Media and Entertainment is trying to continue to bring you more and better content every day. Several things in the plans. Several things about to take place. It's going down Big Willie style. God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. If you don't know him, you need to find him and show him love. That's all he's showing you. Nothing but love. We will see you in a few hours right back here on Stewart Media and Entertainment with your boys, Ryan Stewart and Doug Stewart, the Two Live Stews and the Two Live Stews Experience. Peace and blessings, y'all. Thank you for your time. We'll see you in the morning at 7 o'clock. Good job, Joe.
No doubt, brother. See you.
My man.